All right, welcome back to another episode of Get Stoked, the podcast where we delve into various subreddits to find interesting stories and hopefully spark a conversation. I'm your host, Evan.
And I'm your host, Ty. Joining us today is a very spooky specter, Trenton.
I'm a ghost.
All right, Trent, you want to tell the people a little about yourself before we hop into this?
I don't know much there is about me, but we are doing Paranormal today. I'll let you in on a little secret. And I am a horror fanatic. So I'm excited to sit down and talk,
Fun times.
A lot of opinions on it too, so.
All right, so Ty, how about you tell the people what we're talking about today?
This week we will pierce the veil between realities and discover the secrets beyond our comprehension. That's right. This week we're exploring the paranormal.
Did I miss the part on our plan where we're doing a radio announcer voice?
No, that's me being sick.
I expected.
Really? I thought you were purposefully trying to sound like...
No, I'm just dying.
Did you picture him with like a crystal ball?
Yeah, I was...
It fits with the paranormal theme if I'm closer to death this week.
Yeah, but it's also like... Do I need to like be wearing a mask or something? Am I going to get sick?
I mean, that's honestly why I washed all the cups before you guys.
Well, thank you.
You should always wash all the cups.
So grateful. All right, so before... All right, go ahead. Let's talk about our subreddit before...
So this week we are using r/paranormal.
Okay. And I think before we hop into this, let's all put it out there. Do we believe in ghosts here?
Oof, I'm a very not sure. I feel like that's a cop-out thing, right? But I'm in between, like, never seen it, so I can't believe in it, but I feel like it's foolish to completely say it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah. See, I always welcome the idea. I just want like a ghost to like pick me up and throw me across the room. Because then I'll have definite proof that ghosts exist. Because there's no way I can just get lifted up and tossed into a wall. Like if I break a couple bones, it's fine. But I'll take it.
Here's the real question: if you figure out if a ghost exists, is it immediately turned to a religion then? Because that's the same way for me.
Really? Yeah.
I'm like, if there's an afterlife, I gotta start just hoping and praying to some kind of deity.
I honestly don't know at that point because like then if there's ghosts, then like what explains why they're here and not in the afterlife? So
that makes sense.
I'm not sure what my first reaction would be. Probably it's pretty neat, but
oh wow, that's
as somebody's like getting turned inside out in front of me. But
you just said you wanted to get thrown up against.
I do.
So you're getting like the shit kicked out of you by this ghost, and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. At least it's here.
Yeah. Anyway,
I would say I'm skeptical, but I also have had slight experiences.
Fair share of weird shit.
I wouldn't say
happened.
ghosts, but like weird shit has happened to me that I can't explain.
Yeah,
that's definitely the same with me. I hope it's the same with you.
Oh yeah. I specifically remembered specific stories that we can get into in a little bit that happened in our fucking dorm that like I just couldn't explain.
Okay, well our dorm supposedly
is haunted.
haunted.
Yeah. But
so is this one that I am currently living in.
Yeah.
I
thought that was the other building with the little girl.
This one apparently has they call him the Blue Boy, and he floats and looks at you in the window on second and third stories.
Oh, I don't like that one.
I'm sure that's just not some like
because if you look at my bed,
yeah, I'm sure the podcast can easily look at your bed right now.
No, I'm talking to you guys. Shut up.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so do we want to let's start with a post before we.
Okay, so I read this one while I was avoiding doing work, and I really enjoyed it. This one is called "Daughter's Imaginary Friend May Not Be So Imaginary After All."
Well, children are scary when it comes to ghosts.
Yeah,
it's a little long, so I'll try to include only the important details. My daughter Madison always had imaginary friends. They were all in pairs. There was Dana and Steve, Fraga and Kinga, boyfriend and girlfriend. Then one day she told me around age 3, she's now 15, about Kellum that played around with her. I thought it was odd that this imaginary friend was flying solo, but I played along and asked if Kellum was her age. She told me Kellum wasn't a kid, that he was a grown-up who was tall like her daddy and wore brown pants and a yellow shirt. I still thought we were talking about someone from her imagination, so I didn't dwell on it until one day she started singing a song I had never heard before. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, I'm half crazy for all the love of you. Then she mumbled a few words and picked back up with a bicycle built for 2. This went on for a few days, and I assumed she heard it from her babysitter, as she didn't really talk to anybody else outside of the family. She was 3, so that makes sense. Babysitter told me later that she thought my husband and I taught her the song because she didn't know it either. I then asked her where she heard it, and she told me that Callum taught it to me. He sings it to his baby. This gave me the creeps, but I thought I'd best just chalk it up to like something on television or just some creativity. Eventually, Kellum faded away and she stopped singing the song. She grew out of her imaginary friend phase, and we never brought up Kellum again. Fast forward to about 5 years ago, I'm telling the story to a coworker who recognized the song as an old Nat King Cole tune called Bicycle Built for Two that was popular way back in the early 20th century. That prompted us to start looking on Ancestry.com and my property address history. I started following rabbit holes and found that in the 40s, the Beasley family bought the property adjacent to ours and ran a small dairy farm on it until it was sold in the 90s. The deeded owner at the time it was purchased in 1941 was Calum Beasley. Calum was the father of 5 children. His youngest died at age 3, and her name was Madeline.
I think the first part that's important to realize about this is that it was a lot like many years ago, like a couple years ago. So like it's less likely to be to like think that she maybe saw this on like an electronic device, like a phone. So like I mean, it says posted in 2008. Like you know, kids didn't have iPhones and shit every day. So I think it's scarier to think of like that because like kids are so unpredictable with that. And I think it's even spookier when kids like are seeing this kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean that's a very common motif, and like just real life stories too, as well as horror stories, where it's like, oh, my daughter says she has an imaginary friend, and then I saw like the imaginary friend walking around, or like there's one girl, it's a famous demon case called Sally, right? And the girl had a little friend, and whenever they got in trouble, the daughter would go, that wasn't me, that was Sally, or Sally told me to do it, and stuff like that.
Oh god.
So the imaginary friend thing is always freaky.
Yeah.
I think little kids in general, there's like the concept of like youth and innocence is what is so scary. Like that's why in all of those horror movies you always hear like a children's song being played just a bit slower than typically or something. Like it's always like the distortion of innocence that freaks me out.
I think it allows for a lot of negligence too from parents. It's like, she's just a kid, she's probably just making that up. But if it's like something specific, they're like, where did this come from? Like you know, you can't just like I don't know, I feel like you can't just suppress that to like, it's just her imagination.
I just caught the detail that her name was Madison and his daughter was Madeline.
That's kind of weird.
So like...
like, who comes up with the name Kellum, too? Like,
it was the 20s, come on.
I guess.
I would name my kid Kellum.
Well...
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but... I think it's also neat, too, like...
It is more of a dog name.
I think it's nice, too, that people like to post these kind of stories for, like, validation, that they're not just, like... crazy, or like their kids aren't just like, you know, pulling stuff out of their ass or whatever. But I mean, she was only 3 at the time, so like, how much can a 3-year-old really make up on their own?
Yeah. It's weird. You see it with dogs too.
Yeah, like dogs. That scares the shit out of me.
They just stare at like a random corner with nothing in it.
Or they bark into the darkness. That's why I'll always have a dog.
I will provide the skeptical point of view on the dogs thing. Supposedly because of their heightened hearing, sometimes they will just stop and look because they're hearing something from a distance, and so they stop breathing and they'll just look at one spot so they can focus on hearing.
I guess, but I don't know. Like,
but it's also creepy as fuck when you're in a creeped out mood, and then all of a sudden your dog is just like looking down a dark hallway at something, cracking its head like it's listening to somebody, and you're like, fuck that shit.
I mean, if it's listening, that's fine, but like if there's like I don't know, I just feel like if it's barking in like a dark hallway or whatever, I don't know. I mean, I've never experienced that with either of my dogs, but that would scare the living fuck out of me.
My dogs... Ooh, this is actually a good time for this, anyway. I've had a slightly paranormal interaction because of my dogs. I would call it slightly paranormal because I don't know if it is, but it was freaky as fuck. We take my dogs on walks through a cemetery by my house because there's nowhere else to walk that's safe. And there's this section of the cemetery that's blocked off by like steel bars, basically, like on the ground. They're about like an inch off the ground. It's all the unmarked or like worn away. They're too old to like have any names on them, and my dogs will not cross that line no matter what.
That's weird.
No matter what we tried. If we tried to pick them up and carry it across, they would like squeal and cry.
Really?
Yeah, it was scary as fuck. I don't go past it.
Do you think that they have some sort of sense with that kind of stuff?
I mean, I'm not sure, but it freaked me out.
Seems
that's for fucking sure. Okay.
Do we want to go on the next one?
Sure.
You provided all of them.
I have a whole lot. You brought some too, didn't you?
Yeah, I brought the one with the deer type thing. But you're a much better enunciator.
Yeah.
then I think
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, well,
Especially with your sick voice, I think it's working pretty
It's
well.
kind of, yeah, I have like a sexy tone to it.
Well,
I wouldn't go that far, but
Oof.
okay. You guys remember when we first got here last year? We used to watch all those spooky videos at like till like really late at night, and just like that was like that for a week.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
I missed those times just hanging out with everyone.
Yeah.
Down in a dark room watching
Spooky videos.
They're spooky videos, but they're also the dumbest thing because it's like top 5 ghost videos.
Number 5.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I really love not sleeping.
Yeah, me too. I like to do it sometimes at night where I'll just read shit and then it's like, you know, why not? Like,
Why?
ruin my night? Because it's fun sometimes.
Let's just ruin our night. Let's just not sleep.
And especially when I sleep in the basement down in my...
Oh, Jesus.
It's fascinating why people are drawn to horror. Like, do you think it's the emotional reaction of the high you get, or is it the...
Yeah.
It's thrill-seeking is what it is.
For me, I've always found it more of like an entrance in the macabre, you know? Like, what actually happens and stuff like that. So, I don't know if it's necessarily like if I like being scared, or if it's more just like I want to see the creativity and all of this other stuff that might go on, you know, after certain things like life and stuff like that.
I like to oh, sorry, Ty. I like to watch a lot of the movies that are based on like true stories and just like dive into them, like research the shit out of it because I'm curious, like The Conjuring and stuff like that. Like I love that kind of stuff, but I also like that feeling of being scared. But most of the time you see horror movies don't have like a super good plot, but like movies that are based on true stuff, I like to watch those the most.
Yeah.
For me, the reason I don't like to read like scary stuff. I like to read creepy things. I think there's a slight difference there, but I like to read it because there's a lot of other emotions that you can get from other things. Like you can get sad, or you can feel like that adrenaline from like an action movie or whatever. It's much harder to make yourself feel those like truthfully. It's very easy to creep yourself out and put yourself in the center of that, and to make yourself believe that you are being affected by the things that you're reading about. Like you can read about somebody having like their doors open and close without them, and the next time you hear somebody's doors slam, like you get that little bit of spook. I like that, but I also hate it.
It's like a mental association.
Well, everyone thinks they know why, right? Because fear is probably the most evolutionarily advantage emotion to have, because it saves you literally from death. Like if you don't know if those stripes by the trees over there is a tiger or just some stripes by trees, it's better to assume it's a tiger and just
it's
your pants and run away.
It's pure instinct at that point. But I think I don't know. I'm into the horror too for like similar reasons that I just find it like super interesting to see people's creativity too. But like I said, the ones that intrigue me the most are the ones that are like based on true stories or legends, because it's just like
folklore is super interesting.
Yeah, it's like, because how can you denounce something that's been around for many years and like that people can't explain?
Yeah,
like it's easy nowadays to make stuff up because of the internet and stuff. But like when you see like you hear a story that's been passed down for years and years and years, it's like, well, that had to have come from somewhere.
It had to have some realistic base, and even if it's not paranormal or supernatural, it had like the fact that it's frightening means it was frightening and something really was happening.
Folklore, particularly horror folklore, is super interesting because they're not necessarily like horrific tales, but it's more like cautionary. Like if you think of La Llorona.
Yes, I was just thinking of that one. The Woman in White.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about a spooky ghost. It's about, hey, don't go outside at night and stay by bodies of water. You know, it's a way to teach kids. Don't do these dangerous things. And that's where I feel like a lot of folklore horror stems from. But then there's also ones where it's like there's no apparent explanation besides someone's just like, I saw that thing one day.
Yeah, I agree. I think like, the woman, I remember watching like an episode of Supernatural where they did one like that where it's like, if you pick up this lady and you go to try and have sex with her, she kills you. So it's like, don't cheat on your significant other kind of thing. But I think that's a lot of where like those especially in like, you see a lot more like third world countries where they or not third world, but just like other countries where they spread their lore to like scare their children into not doing stupid stuff. Yeah,
I think that probably also has something to do with the fact that like there's not really an American like heritage beyond where we are now. Like,
I mean, you hear a lot of
countries that have been around for like their people have been around for hundreds of years.
I mean, then
we've been here for 200.
Native Americans have a lot of like the skinwalkers or whatever, or like there's a lot of like lore from them too. I mean, so it's not like, I think we have our own, but it's like not a lot of people know about it because it's like not like, I don't know, you don't have a lot of contact with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's super interesting because American legends and stuff will often take on like a European but also a native vibe, just because of like the trading and the talking between the natives and the Europeans.
Yeah.
So things like the skinwalkers, that's purely native, but that's super fascinating.
I love the concept, but they scare me.
Those are like the things that like run really fast. Like,
Yeah,
they look like dogs.
They are people who can change into animals and sometimes take on the form of people.
Yeah.
And supposedly they're like Navajo,
yeah, that's what
people
yeah.
that have like committed some great sin or like atrocity in order to gain that power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And no one really knows what they do. Most people think they just like kill you and then like wear your like skin because that's how they like transform or something.
Yeah.
But I like they've been described, like the way people describe them in the stories and stuff, or that they're a mockery of like normal life. So they will like take on the form of something, but it will be off in a way that's like very like horrifying to see.
Yeah.
And that like they'll make sounds like animals, but it's clearly a person animating the sound. So like a dog, like it might be like a dog and it's barking, but like it's very clearly like a person, and that freaks me out. Like an animal with a person's voice barking. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Well, that's that goes right into the uncanny valley, where it's like something is just off from what we expect it to be. Like those creepy dolls you see with the porcelain faces and stuff like that. Where you look at that and you go, that's a face. I know it's a face, but there's something off about it somewhere, and it just unnerves you to the core for whatever reason.
I hate the porcelain dolls. Like, not just since that Annabelle movie, just in general, I've always found them to be super creepy. And the Annabelle doll isn't even porcelain; it's like one of those Raggedy Ann dolls. We saw one of them at that thrift shop. So,
do you want some porcelain dolls that I have?
Please.
You have porcelain dolls?
Yeah, they were in my bedroom whenever I moved in.
Oh,
you can keep those to yourself.
You want to hear something funny? They're renovating my boyfriend's house right now, and as they were renovating it, somebody opened up the attic and fucking like a box full of old creepy ass dolls.
Nope, I don't like that.
Attic.
Yeah,
that's when
probably
you get out
there. Yeah, fuck that.
I can't wait to see the finished product.
Yeah, so like I think if we're talking about like legends, I think I kind of want to talk about the black-eyed children.
The black-eyed children.
I love those stories. I've been interested in them ever since we saw that video of the guy who was like did all that research into like how to attract them, and he would like play that noise outside his house, and then one of them showed up and like was just standing on his porch for hours. Like, could you imagine that? Like, screw that. But yeah, let's get into that one.
I have one of them. It's honestly, I remember reading this one. It wasn't great, but I think he was trying to describe a black-eyed child, but he didn't know what he was saying.
This is the little girl with blacked-out eyes.
Yeah, little girl with blacked-out large eyes. I've been reading these stories off and on for months and have been waiting to tell this story, but I had been waiting for my sister to find the photo. Unfortunately, as it always happens, the only person who may have this photo is me, but my computer is dead. It is getting fixed, so once it is, I'll post the pic if I didn't delete it out of sheer terror back in the day. This is an oldish story that happened to my little sister and her friend in Marin County, California movie theater. My sister and her best friend were grounded, so naturally they went to the movies together with permission from the parents, but the only condition was send a picture of you guys at the movie so we know you're there. Before the movie started, my sister and her friend took a horizontal photo of themselves sitting in the seat, and they sent it to our moms. Nobody noticed until after the movie what exactly was in their photo with them. Keep in mind, the movie theater was empty. The theater is very old-timey, and not a lot of people go there because they only have one viewing room. You can see that there is not one person.
No, I think it's just not one person behind.
You can see that there is not one person behind them in the seats. In between both of their heads was a little girl, black hair, shoulder lengths, with large blacked-out eyes and pale skin. She was kind of hard to see, but as you turned up the resolution in contrast, there was 100% a little girl sitting in between them.
It sucks because like they didn't ever post the picture on there, so
yeah, there's a bunch of people.
But
OP never delivers.
But still, it's like, I think that's like the most terrifying thing is you take a picture and you don't realize it until you go back and look at it that there's something behind you.
Yeah, what's more horrifying to you guys? At the moment, not knowing that something was there, or knowing something was there at the moment?
Afterwards, definitely afterwards. Because I can deal with the anxiety and stress during the time, but it's like afterwards, like knowing that something was there and you had no idea, that's just terrifying. I mean, I have that fear of like somebody watching me in my house without knowing, so it's like, I think it's more scary to see it afterwards.
Like how whenever you walk downstairs or something late at night, you flick on the lights and you just can't see outside, and you're like, someone could be standing right there just looking in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I am. That reminds me of a story. This one time, we went up to this park. It was up on a hill, and because me and my girlfriend at the time wanted to make out, which was a rare occasion for that relationship. But anyway, we went up there and just like. I don't know how to describe it, but like the aura or like just the overall feel was like something is going to fucking get us. And it was like at that time like killer clowns were running about.
Oh, fuck that.
But so I was like, we're gonna fucking die up here because like the whole time I'm just like paranoid because it's like it's quiet, it's dead, we're up above everything. Like perfect place to be murdered would be at this park, and I just terrified. It was. I left. We left like after 15 minutes because it was bad. And I was in this big red pickup truck at the time too, so.
God, the killer clown trend makes me so mad because I don't know who in their right mind would buy a creepy clown costume, get dressed up in it, and then not freak themselves out running around alone at night trying to freak other people out. Like
psychopaths.
Yeah, like who does that? Like if I were to do that, I would scare myself thinking about what are people gonna do to me when I try to spook them.
Yeah, you crossed the wrong guy.
And I jump up on some like redneck with a shotgun, like ready to blast me into pieces, or even creepier, I run into someone else doing the same fucking thing.
It's just a prank, bro.
And it's like, what do we fucking do here?
You
like,
team up, that's what you do.
And it's like
squad goals.
That redneck who eviscerates you. Can you blame him? Because
No,
there's a clown running at you.
Yeah.
But like people were running around with bats and like machetes.
Yeah, like that's how you get yourself killed. Like you're gonna run into the wrong guy who's not gonna take your shit. Like they're not just gonna run away and you're gonna get messed up.
Yeah.
But I guess like that's the risk you play when you do stupid shit like that. But back to the black-eyed children thing. And I know we don't like to talk about it because it's scary, but just because kids in general are scary as is, but like add the supernatural to them and it just gets worse.
What are the rules on them? Like I know there's rules that you have to follow.
With the black-eyed
You
children?
don't invite them in. That's one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, don't let them in. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the other ones.
You want me to? I can look them up real quick.
What person though like sees that and is like,
oh come on! Well, the innocent old lady who thinks it's just a normal little girl.
That's true.
She's just got like fucking like gaping black eyes and she's like, oh, like sweetheart, like.
I know people who would do that though. There's a certain type of person, like the trope, the very logical, like, oh, this is a joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they read the lore book and they're like, don't invite him in, and then they show up and they're like, you guys are playing a joke on me, and then they invite him in and they end up dying. Yeah. There are plenty of people out there
That's
like that.
true.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So I have some information on here. It says they're usually abandoned. They're usually near abandoned or deserted areas. Sometimes the reports talk to them appearing at one's doorstep, usually alone or in a pair. They appear to be unusually confident yet shy children who avoid your gaze and look down, hiding their eyes, but speaking with eloquency far beyond their apparent age. Often using mannerisms and speech patterns of an adult, they occasionally even possess the voice of an adult too. They will usually attempt to talk to the victim into allowing them entry into their home, to use a telephone, or to be safe from unspecified danger. Occasionally, when seen outside the home, they will immediately stop their play and stare at you, or if possible, approach you, asking for a place to stay, or trying to talk you into giving them a ride home.
The abandoned places thing reminds me of a story.
Sure.
A very popular destination by Camp Hill was Hall's Tower. It was like this old abandoned mansion, and it's literally a mansion tower, but it's right off of a really busy road, so you have to like go at night or sneak in.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend, like, we're walking through the woods at night. It's me and this one other guy, and he splits off, goes like this direction, right? And I'm just walking around over here. We're a couple miles in. Like, there's a mile trek to get there, because that's how like long and far off the path it was. And immediately to my left of me, I hear footsteps, but they're not animal footsteps where they're light,
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think of some things like a quadruped, you would hear.
Yeah,
like,
more steps. Yeah, but
I just heard like two steps, like a regular human walking, and I shit my pants and just ran away as fast as I could.
Yeah.
And I called my friend. I was like, "We got to get out of here. There's something walking around up there. Maybe it was a black-eyed kid. They like to hang out at abandoned places."
Yeah, seriously.
Oh no! Like, okay, that I applaud you but like for going to a place like that, because in theory it's really cool, but I would never be able to go there at night and like.
I see. I want to do more stuff like that. Like a place near me, Chickies brought. We should. We talked about that last week. There's a place here in town that's actually, it's like a church or whatever that's known for like
the Blue-Eyed Gang.
The Blue-Eyed Gang, yeah. You never heard about that?
You guys told me about that last year. Fun fact: we kind of did low key try some like ghosty stuff last year.
Yes, but I want to save that for the second half of the podcast. That's interesting, scary shit. I lost that SD card for that with that fucking photo on it too.
Yeah, the photo.
All the little.
What about the shadow in front of my face?
It was always on that one too.
You're not allowed to keep those photos. Like that's the rule of like paranormal things. It's supposed to go missing or somehow get corrupted. Or
I'm just bad. I'm just bad with my SD cards. Okay.
No, I'm just saying like that's always the case. Everybody's like, oh, I got it on video, and then the video is nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Listen, you look at his room and you know it's not a mystery.
Yeah, no, trust me. I've lost like 3 SD cards at this point.
Lost that at the end of the year. I remember that.
Why did no one put this on the computer?
I don't know, because it was just like, it was cooler just to know that it was on like an SD card somewhere. But hey, it's still out there somewhere.
Someone's gonna open that up. If they find that,
I hope my dick pics. I hope
the Ouija board was in.
See, the Ouija board. We went back to try and find it, and it wasn't there.
For the sake of being creepy, I would like to think it like disappeared into the house and reappear. But honestly, I think facilities just found it.
Do you remember when we pranked Nikki into thinking that it was in her backpack when she was on the way home?
Oh, yeah. Poor thing. We used to take the Ouija board and hide it like around. I'm just explaining for a few. Listeners.
Should we explain where we got the Ouija board? That's an interesting story on its own. So the town that we live in is not that interesting, but they have a couple local pawn shops. So we went to a couple pawn shops and eventually found this one and asked if they had one. And the guy had to go into the back to pull this thing out. So and we only paid $10 for it. But
1960s, the box was falling apart and everything, baby.
But it was still when they would make like wood boards.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that they're considered a kid's toy. Like you can buy them at Toys R Us. Yeah, well, not that that's a thing anymore, but
I'm interested. Like if it is supernatural, like the sensations and everything you get in moving, I wonder if it's not just like if it is a kid's toy. I think it's more the intention behind it of I want to talk to this thing, please come talk to us.
Yeah,
like you might be using a kid's toy to do it,
but it's still like you're inviting someone in.
You're inviting them to come talk to you. Like theoretically, if they did answer, we could say right now, hey, come talk to us, and we could hear things, or they could talk to us and stuff like that. Maybe hear some noises around. But the Ouija board just makes it easier. Yeah,
it's like a device for them to communicate. So it's, but
something I've been wondering about the Ouija boards, because is there a decrease in supernatural quality when it's like cheaply printed off now? Like, cause like if you like the one that we have from the 1960s was like a dope
decent
wooden,
quality
quality one.
Yeah.
But now it's like a Monopoly board that you can just buy with a cheap plastic.
Folds out.
Yeah, I guess it's like do the ghosts have taste and how they want to communicate?
That's a store.
Yeah, fuck that. I deserve the highest of quality.
Maybe if you're dead for centuries and centuries at a time, maybe you can get the fresh ghosts that just locked into the spirit world, But if fuck, they can but if you're not some basic bitch ghost, if you're there for centuries, right? You're gonna be like, I want them to go out of their way to try and communicate with me.
I need the quality.
Yeah, the sophisticated setup.
What if the year you got your Ouija board was the year that you could speak to ghosts?
Oh, that'd be dope.
I would be pretty neat.
I'm excited for when it probably already exists, like a Ouija board app, because I feel like the only people you could get there are angsty teens who died in 2013 while texting and walking or driving.
I wouldn't trust that.
It was Chad or something.
I can't wait till we can use Fortnite to communicate. He's just posts.
They're controlling. They're the bots.
Those are the bots. Well, they're fucking terrible and they should stop.
How are we doing on time?
We're in about half an hour, so we can take a quick break. All right,
we'll be right back after this spooky break.
Okay. And all right, welcome back to our paranormal episode of Get Stoked. You're totally throwing me off my train of thought here.
What's the afterlife like?
It's really cool.
Let me take this time to thank our viewers. Guys, we just wanted to say thanks for tuning in last week and watching our episode about dreams.
Michael Jackson.
We're gonna continue to keep you updated on our Instagram about when we're gonna post new videos. But for now, let's just jump right back into our episode.
Michael Jackson touched those kids.
Stop it.
I feel like I have to re-record that because I'm so like, we'll just keep it in. It's fine.
So fun.
Anyway, so let's just get back into it.
Speaking of ghosts. Ooh.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
That bit went well.
This one I kind of liked because it's kind of sweet. Okay.
Sweet. Ghosts and sweet. I don't think that they... Okay, I'm sorry. All right, just let you go.
There's a lot of sass being flung across the
lot
table.
of it, yeah. I have a ghost for a roommate. How do I talk to him? It's an advice post. Hi.
I had a ghost for a dad.
I don't post. Hi. I don't post much on Reddit at all, but I'm looking for some like-minded people. On 4 separate occasions, myself and 3 other people have seen an entity in my apartment, of which 2 saw it at my apartment, described as an old man in his 40s or 50s. The first time, I was having a video call with someone while I was eating pizza in my kitchen. A few moments after I left the kitchen, my friend asked if I was going to share with my roommate. I live alone. Whoops. They describe it as a black shadow in the background, and they didn't think much of it as somebody was walking by. The second time, a girlfriend of mine claimed she could communicate with spirits, so I asked her to, and basically the conversation was very short, but it went something like this. Are you here? I'm here. Does he know about you? Yeah. Okay, bye. She got spooked, I guess, and cut it short. As we were leaving, she said he was staring at us from my porch, an older man. The third time, I had a friend over who said they were sensitive to spirit energy and could communicate. The second we walked in my apartment, she felt the energy and said he was harmless, but just really lonely. She felt him in the kitchen, and when we were leaving, she said he was watching us from the porch. I never mentioned the other encounter to her before this. The 4th time, I was streaming live on Twitch. I wish I saved the clip because I looked at the corner of my screen and someone walked past me coming from my kitchen to my porch, and it looked like a black shadow, kind of. So today I talked to a medium. Now before I say what she said to me about the spirit, I never gave her any details.
I was just scrolling through it. It's like, holy cow.
I never gave her any details of my experiences with the spirit. I never told her any of the other encounters anyone else had. She claims it was a middle-aged man named Joe. He died of a heart attack sometime in the 90s.
Joe Mama?
Did you read ahead and prep that joke?
No, I just thought of it when you said it.
Hit a hot dab for that.
High five, let's go.
Fuck, yeah, dude. That was epic.
The other thing, and she said that he said this with a smile, is that he likes pizza. This is what really caught my attention. The first encounter I had with him, he was behind me in the kitchen while I was eating pizza and video chatting with a friend. I asked her why he didn't like that I asked her what he didn't like that I did, and she goes, well, you play your music really loud. I play in a rock band, and we used to practice in my spare room. Needless to say, we got pretty loud. She says he's a good spirit, enjoys when I have company over, and he just likes to make his presence known. Tonight when I got home, I went to my bedroom to lay down, and I felt a sudden rush of energy and emotion as I sat on my bed, and my light started flickering in my room for a second. I think it was a spirit. Honestly, I'm not sure what to make of this, but I wanted to share with a group of like-minded folks. I would like to establish a direct connection with the spirit and learn more about it, who it was as a human. I have a couple of ghost apps on my phone, but they seem really gimmicky. I was thinking of trying a Ouija board, but that seems like it could be a whole other story. Anyone have a suggestion on how I could possibly form a better connection with the spirit I'm sharing an apartment with? Or any thoughts at all? She says his name was Joseph Swanson, and likes to be called Joe.
He's a fucking shyster, dude.
I don't know how long my landlord has owned this building, but I'm going to try to find out anything I can, and if I can, prove that the person even exists. Sorry for just a long post. I just wanted my experience to get in here.
Okay, before we go on, this is such a sophisticated and polite post for Reddit. Like, the grammar's correct, like, everything is like... and
the formatting?
The format, and just the overall...
that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
The overall language... The overall language of it, too, is just, like, polite. It's
Despite
like...
my stumbles.
But... That's the part that I noticed myself. I was like, wow, he's like really polite about this.
This is the narration.
And also, who doesn't save their Twitch streams after they're done? Like, come on.
What an amateur.
Yeah, seriously. You can automatically save your streams, but...
I know.
I just want to talk about that fucking name. No offense to Mr. Swanson, but it sounds like he's the guy who's selling you the car that's going to break down as soon as you get off the lot.
Isn't that the guy from Family Guy? Isn't that his name? Joe Swanson?
Oh, my God.
I'm pretty sure that's it, isn't it?
I think it might be.
It is!
Ah!
Did you just get...
Did we just get duped?
I mean, it didn't say anything about him being crippled, so...
Also, Joe Swanson doesn't like pizza and Family Guy. Know your facts.
So, But what a bunch of, like... what a bunch of weird, like, just little things about him, like...
Yeah.
Like, he likes pizza, doesn't like loud music, like...
I mean, who doesn't?
I know.
Yeah, I know, right?
I play in a rock band.
Had a heart attack. So does the majority of America.
Well, if we're going to talk about having ghosts for a roommate, I think this is a good time to bring out some of the stories from the house last year. So, I know Trenton has one from when he saw in my room, and I have one when I was in his room, so I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. I don't know about the one in my room. I forgot about it. So thanks for telling me that. But, yeah, it was late at night one day. Evan had a roommate who was a very tall guy, and he had these, like, bright orange shoes. Do you remember them?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a closet that opened inward into the room, but it was, like, kind of connected onto the room. It wasn't, the closet didn't jut out, is what I'm trying to say. But the door swung inward, and Evan wasn't in the room at all. And I thought his roommate was, because I walked out and I just went, I was looking for him, and I saw a leg extend, behind the open closet door, and as soon as I went over there and closed the door, there was nothing behind there, but clear as day, I saw a leg from behind the door walking towards it.
And it's important to realize that behind the door, there was a wall right there, and then my TV was right there.
Yeah, your TV stand was there.
They would have been walking into nowhere from what he saw, but I remember you telling me, because you were like, is Cameron in there? I was like, no, he's not. And he's like, are you sure? Because I swear to God, I just saw him. And I was like, no, he's not in there. But,
it was, it genuinely freaked me out. A lot of times I'll ham things up to make them more interesting for the people around me. But this, I wasn't freaked out necessarily, but I was just confused. I remember talking to Evan and being like, yo, Cameron, where's he at?
Yeah. But,
I forgot that you guys... I forgot you telling me about that.
But my story is, I was in your room, and I think Josh walked out, but when he came in, he put his books flat on the desk. They were flat on the desk. And he walked out of the room, I think to go to the bathroom or something, and the top book just right off the top of the book,
flat.
Yeah, it was completely flat. There's no way those books should have fallen off.
You guys had the flattest room.
There's no way that it could have been anything, but it's just right off onto the floor. And I was sitting there, I was like, what the fuck?
What kind of book was it?
It was just a normal reading book. I don't remember which one it was.
Not like a textbook.
Yeah, and it wasn't on a binder or anything. It was paperback, and he stacked them there, and he put them up on the thing.
You did tell me about that.
Yeah, and it just fell off, and it was creepy. And at first I didn't know how to react to it because I'm like, did that just happen? And I was like, I even looked at the stack of stuff there, and there was no indication of any slant, and it flung. It wasn't just drop. It flung because it was up on that shelf thing, and it flung off and hit the ground.
So there was an angle to it too.
Yes.
That's pretty weird.
So
and I specifically remember I took my level app on my phone and I tested your fucking room because I was like, not only did they get the biggest room, their room is level because everywhere else in that house, because it was so old, I had to put boxes on my fucking counters and stuff because they would roll, anything would fly the fuck off of it because it was so fucking unlevel.
Yeah, that was my only experience.
And yours was flat.
Yeah, and we had the weird thing too where the closet door just refused to open again, but I think that was more just the old
shitty house.
Yeah, the shitty house.
Your story made me think of something because remember the story I told last week about my dream where I yelled at Cameron? Well, I couldn't tell it was anything, but it was just a black figure that was coming at me, but I yelled at Cameron for coming towards me. So I wonder if what I saw in my dream, maybe I was hallucinating or maybe I was actually seeing something and I thought it was Cameron. It was the same thing that you saw.
I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, I thought, oh, that's Cameron. I want to see him. I want to talk to him. And I walked over and I opened the door and there was nothing there. And I was just so dumbfounded. Yeah. Did I miss something walking over there? Is Cameron so fast that he can run away in a blink of an eye.
Is he under the bed?
Yeah, so I wonder if like that had anything, if there's any connection there, because I remember, like I said, I yelled at Cameron, but he was laying in his bed.
Do you remember where you saw the thing?
It was walking towards me from his bed. So
same place it was heading toward.
No, not really, but still, I mean, if there's something in the
wall.
If there's something in the room, then like
yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense to me now that I'm thinking about it. So
well, that house, according to campus lore, is haunted by a hockey player who had asthma, and supposedly he kept his medication up in the attic. I don't understand.
I don't understand.
I went on the ghost walk because I was interested in this.
Yeah, I was there too.
And he went up to get his medication, and the guys thought it was a hilarious joke to lock him up there, and he had an asthma attack. But here's the part I don't understand. His medication was up there. What's the big deal? You should just take it.
How do you have an...
But, like, if you have an asthma attack next to your medication, you should be fine.
It's asbestos.
Yeah. So,
the asbestos caught
there is an attic that we have never been able to get up into, but there is also a creepy basement that had markings
on rooms
the door.
on the side. Yeah, I know.
It was scary.
It was an A. It
yeah,
was an A
and your basement right now is fucked.
Yeah, I have a video of that I want to show you then, but it's fucking weird. There's like, it's clearly paint, but it's like it looks like blood all over the downstairs of the basement. I'm like, oh,
didn't they write something too?
Yeah, I forget what it says though. I have to look at the video.
That's creepy.
But yeah. But we have some more campus stuff we want to talk about.
In the hall.
Let's save the Ouija board experiences for a little bit later because
So there are stories about ghosts, particularly more evil, like demons and stuff, mimicking things. Do you think it would be possible that whatever happened between us could be something evil that was mimicking Cameron?
That's possible.
I hope not.
I mean, I hope not either, but
I certainly hope it's...
Thinking about what you said and then the dream I had, it makes kind of sense.
Well, also, compare that with your book thing of something being launched with force. That's not, like, typically what you associate benevolent spirit.
But I mean...
But could it also just be, like, a practical joke of some sort?
Are ghosts jokesters?
I mean,
ghosts know they're ghosts?
Some would. Oh, that's a
I don't think I would scream for it to get the fuck away from me in my sleep. And you know how sometimes ghosts can, like, implement themselves into your dreams, too.
What do you think, baseline, what do you guys think ghosts are? Because some people think they're just energy. Some people think they are, like, the actual person themselves, like, stuck in this limbo.
Yeah, I heard it's like that.
I heard a super interesting theory where he thought ghosts weren't necessarily like anything human, but they were just beings that transcended, like maybe an alien race that transcended into a pure form without like material, and we sometimes just get glimpses in there.
Yeah, the only thing I would say that contradicts that theory is like a lot of times people report ghosts looking like
humans.
That makes sense. But
I'm wondering if that's also something that is just a figment of the human mind, where we can't comprehend something else, so our brain's like, we're gonna make it look like a human.
But anyway, the original question is, what are ghosts?
What do you think they are? Yeah.
I would like to believe, in the purest form, that everyone has a spirit inside them, and then the body is just a spirit for the vessel. But maybe that's just a way that we're rationalizing everything that happens, like personalities. Something's got to think of all the neurons firing up here, right? So I want to believe that they're just wayward spirits.
Yeah, lost.
Yeah. Like, there is some type of afterlife. Who knows what it actually entails. Maybe everyone's just trapped here for eternity.
There's a lot of theories, too, that, like, they're just spirits who, like, were like wronged and they have to like stuff like that. So I don't know. I like his theory too because I think that probably explains it the best.
Yeah. It's a nice thought. It's comforting in a way to think that you know the figure in the corner isn't malicious in any way. It's just someone who doesn't know what's happening.
But then you look at stories like The Conjuring or like the Amityville Horror House where like it's like there's clearly malicious intent there.
But there is something where ghost and like paranormal lore, I guess, malicious things aren't typically ghosts. Because ghosts, they never existed. They never lived, like demons.
Like
demons never. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I read about that.
They never lived. They just mimic other things. And that's why I think a lot of the ghosts, like the roommate ghost, if he's real, is just like some guy hanging out, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's just doing what he did in life. But things that, like the thing that flung the bookshelf, or not the bookshelf, the book off the top of the bookshelf.
You don't think that's a ghost?
I would think that would be something that never lived at all.
Yeah.
And it's just malicious.
Well, isn't there also the theory too that ghosts who have been like around for a while eventually go insane and then they become malicious?
That would kind of... I've heard of it.
I think isn't that like a theory like
That makes sense.
of what they are? Like they've just been lost for so long that they've lost their sense of humanity and that they've. But I think like the demon things. I know I've heard that like their spirit, they're like they never existed, but like that's a lot of what you see. Like I know that I think the Amityville Horror House and like that they were demons. So
not to throw a whole different pitch.
Do it.
There's another theory that like what we perceive as the paranormal or as ghosts are really lapses in dimensions.
I knew you were going to say that.
I was waiting for an opportunity to slip it in.
And I find that cool, but actually like more horrifying, but also more comforting, if that makes sense. It's scarier because it's something even farther outside of our control. We're not dealing with like a person anymore. We're dealing with something uncontrollable that just happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's comforting because I'm sure whatever's on the other end of that probably is thinking, what the fuck, too. And they're not like actively trying to get to you.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that too, but it doesn't exactly explain like items that are like cursed or haunted, like you know, like the Annabelle doll and stuff like that. So
what if it is a lapse in dimensions or timelines? Like that item is tied to a specific break in like a timeline.
Yeah.
Like if that like was held by a little girl and her whole family was murdered, well maybe there was another timeline where they weren't murdered, and now you're seeing like the ramifications of like that huge break.
Yeah. And I feel like if that was ever actually 100% found out, that would be comforting, because in a way that kind of like validates life after death much more, just knowing that there are so many different dimensions, you know, right? If let's say these things go on forever like the universe is, maybe there's a dimension where people just happen to go when they die. Maybe it is a different dimension that we're seeing, but it is what we think it is, right? Where it's actually spirits. They're just in a different plane of existence than we are, but it's the same plane.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable too, because like you think if it was like lapses in dimensions, that like it'd be more consistent and you'd see it more. Yeah. But I mean, unless they're just areas that are weaker and easier like for them to cross over. But I don't know. I still like the whole lost spirit theory too, because it just, in my mind, it makes a little more sense than that. I mean, I want to believe it's something as cool as that, but like, I don't know, just with like all the different types that you see and like all the different stories you hear, it's like,
it's too varied. I think that solution in practice would yield more consistent results. Like you would see very consistent things. I think
that's the thing that's always frustrating about like ghost stories, right? Anything paranormal, really. It's like it's so varied, and that delegitimizes it, right? But then it's so frequent that it legitimizes it. Yeah. Like the whole reason we have Halloween is, you know, the bad spirits are crossing over and we need to avoid them, so we dress up like them. That's not a recent thing. That's been going on for years and years.
Well, and look at like the Day of the Dead, where like their ancestors cross back over for a day. You know, it's stuff like that. It's like you see it in so many different cultures, and it's like there's got to be some sort of like, you know, like I don't even know what word I'm trying to use here, but like value to what's going on, because
some validity.
Yeah, validity. Yeah.
It's weird because it's like it transcends so many cultures, so it's either real or it's a human condition. Yeah. Right? To just believe that there's something more. Maybe it is just a human condition. It's possible because we want to believe that there's more out there than just blackness. Yeah. So, but at the same time, it's like the whole culture thing. Like, you know, not everybody's like, even like religious people have tendencies to believe in like the supernatural sometimes. Yeah. So it's like, you know, maybe it's not just a human condition. Maybe it's you know, there is some validity to it. Yeah.
I will say, when I was doing this research, a couple of people I stumbled upon would in the comments be like, I am a person of God, and what you guys describe as paranormal, like ghosts, I see as nothing more than like Satan and demons doing all of it. So like that benevolent spirit who like likes to hang out with you, and occasionally he'll like move your cup as like a joke, like that's actually a demon, which I can see how you can reconcile that with the like standard like Christian mentality. So I think the jury's out. Like no one really knows.
I think there's a lot more consistency though with like the whole demon stories. Like you see like them being a little bit more consistent than you do with like ghosts. Because ghosts you can be like, oh, it was just my grandma just saying hi. But like demons, it's usually pretty consistently they're just trying to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
You know, like, and there's a lot of places too. Like I remember I watched a lot of like the BuzzFeed Unsolved Theory series. Like there's like Goatman's Bridge. And that one's like a home to like a demon. So it's like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think locations are a big thing too.
Yeah.
There are certain areas that you can just like you feel bad being there. Actually, my house. What sucks is in Pennsylvania, you cannot find out if anyone died in your property.
Really?
Sucks. Yeah, I hate that. In New York, you can. Fun fact. So because I wanted to do research about it because I was home, and there's one particular room in the basement where I have had the same recurring nightmare 3 times and the same experience once I've woken up every single time. And it is right next to the boiler room. And if I ever fall asleep in there, I will have a dream that is totally normal, and then all of a sudden, everything will be on fire. And I will wake up, and 3 times this has happened, I will wake up, I grab my phone light, I turn it on, and I'm looking through the room, and I cannot see beyond my phone. Like, the light of my phone is the only thing I can see. I see smoke. Like, I think that the house is burning. I feel scratchiness. I feel the heat. Everything. I leave the room. Everything stops. I turn around. Everything's normal. But I swear to God, 3 times I've been in that room and I've seen smoke. And, like, maybe it's a dream situation. Maybe someone died in a fire. I don't know. But it keeps happening, and I'm terrified of that room.
That's horrifying.
Hey, if I ever come over to your house, I'll sleep.
Yeah.
Let's do it. No, I'm not kidding.
Group sleepover down in the boiler room.
Let's have a podcast next Halloween. We'll do a podcast episode in the boiler room.
But yeah, that's like, you see a lot of like attachment to certain places. Like there's a lot of very haunted, like well-known haunted places in America and like just all over the globe.
I think it's also important too to look at all the theories that people have, and one of the biggest ones is that energy in general just allows them, it gives them strength or something like that. So that's why I think something like being next to a boiler room makes sense, because perhaps there's more there's more energy for them to manifest and do these things, like maybe give you dreams or just give you the feeling that someone's watching. Like personally, every time I go into the boiler room in my house, I always feel watched. Like there's something in the corner behind it looking at me. You know, whether it's evil or not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I
just
think
you feel it. Like, I don't think humans have some sort of sixth sense or whatever. It's just like you can tell when like the present, like your like the aura around you changes.
And you can feel that.
You can feel it.
It's something everybody can relate to.
But you also see like the things like cold spots in houses, like where there shouldn't be. Like,
yeah,
if you're down in the boiler room and you walk over and it's supposed to be hot down there, why is there a cold spot? You know.
Or like in Gettysburg, I think Rachel was telling this. At Gettysburg College, there's a door because during the war, a bunch of people were dying or sick, and they didn't have anywhere to put the bodies because it was winter, because you can't dig. So they put them all in one room, and they painted the door red to make sure nobody would go in there, and that's where they kept the bodies. And to this day, anytime they try to paint over the door, it will peel off, and it's always been red.
That's interesting.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And like things like that, like I think location. But
yeah. Are you guys believers in the tragedy links people to this realm? I guess you could say the material plane.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like, if you were murdered, then you could never have the like people like the tendency the belief is that like they stick around until they can figure out what happened to them. And the problem is that what turns them like malicious sometimes is they've been here for so long trying to figure it out that they've, like I said, lost sense of who they were. So
trying to get like their door or like whatever moves them on to the next like
and they've just gone insane, and then they're like malicious and evil. But I think so.
It's fascinating, just all the different theories people have. Of course, you can't prove any of them until maybe technology gets to a point where we can start understanding this. But just everything about like here's what happened to me, come solve it for me. There's always that motif of the investigator who has to piece together the clues and tell them to the ghost so they can move on. maybe there's some validity in that. I mean, typically people dwell on things, even if it's little things. And maybe emotions are so powerful that they can tether you to certain places, like a house where it started fire in the boiler room or something like that. And whatever you do, you just can't get away from it until you recognize it and you accept it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Winchester House. It's so you know the Winchester Repeating Arms Company.
No.
Well, it's a gun company. The story behind this is her husband died, and she took over the company, and she had this house, and it's in California, and supposedly the ghost of every like person that a Winchester rifle would kill would come to haunt her. So she constantly had her house in construction up until the day she died because she was trying to confuse the ghosts. Like her house is crazy. There's stairways that lead to nowhere. There's doors that lead out to like it's crazy. Like look at it. It's huge. It's in California, but she was like supposedly haunted to the point where like she kept building so it would confuse the spirits that lived in her house.
That sounds like the murder hotel. Yeah, where he built like hallways that led nowhere, rooms that could be sealed off, like the air could be sealed off, and he murdered a bunch of people.
But yeah, she like went insane because like she was constantly being,
she was haunted by every person.
Yeah, but her gun's killed.
I wonder if there's like a piece with her dying. Yeah. Like if now that home is.
It's still apparently haunted, but.
By who though?
I don't. Right? I would imagine. I mean, I don't know, but
Where's the location?
Because I don't know about you guys, but if something killed me, I'd be pretty pissed off.
Would you be pissed at the person using it or the?
I mean.
Well, you said that they attach themselves. So
yeah, they attach themselves.
All these ghosts that eventually she died. Well, they're now attached to this house because they've spent so long in it trying to get to her. So at that point, they just kind of hang around.
Plus, typically, there's like a respect where it's like, I'm doing it to you, you're doing it to me.
Yeah.
I don't see why I should be too mad at you, but I'd be pretty pissed. Like, if you stabbed me right now and I died, I'd be pretty pissed off at you because there was no reason for you to stab me. But if we are at war and you stabbed me and I died, I'd still be pissed, but I was at war, That's what I signed up for. That's what I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you see, like, I think, like, you see a lot of locations that people attach, like the Amityville Horror House, a bunch of people got shot in there and died, so, of course, they're going to attach themselves to where they died. But, do we want to look at another post?
Yeah, I think... Okay, so this one never really has, like, a full explanation, but I think what it might be is a Skinwalker story.
Okay. We also have some campus... Like, I think we should talk about some of the campus hauntings and we got to talk about the Ouija board experience that we had.
I will read this really quick, and then we can move on to the other ones.
Yeah, we are at 27 minutes right now, so...
Oof, okay. You want to keep going? Or do you want to just tell our campus stories?
I think... We should tell our campus stories.
Let's tell our campus stories.
So we, I'll let you do the Mary Green story, and then I'll talk about what we did.
Okay. So, as the story goes, the ghost of a little girl haunts Mary Green Hall. Supposedly in the 1950s, possibly the 1960s, possibly the 1940s. Who knows? A young freshman was moving in with her parents, and her little sister was playing outside with a ball. Said ball bounced onto the train tracks that now go straight through our campus and wake us up every single night.
Not me.
Little girl.
I already live by a train, so.
Little girl picking up her ball is somehow completely unaware of the train blaring and speeding toward her.
I heard her foot got stuck or something.
Oh, I had never heard that detail. That makes a bit more sense.
Go fucking fast.
I was always like, how is she not hearing like?
I heard she got stuck or something.
Okay, she gets decimated.
And supposedly walks around.
Rest in peace.
So supposedly now, in Mary Green Hall, which is the hall that they were moving her big sister into, she runs up and down the halls, bouncing her ball and giggling. Our school got onto a paranormal investigation show, and in it they had another incident where guys heard that story, and they decided that they were going to run up and down the hallways with a ball and laugh to try and freak other people out. And then all this really scary stuff started happening to them. Like, their TV would turn on. Yeah. They would see the girl, like, fucking, like, mad at them.
Yeah. Their speakers would blast static and stuff like that.
So, all I'm saying is, Mary Green, don't mess with her. Let her play.
And we messed with it.
Yeah, we did.
Let's get into the Ouija board story.
So we finally decided that we were going to take the Ouija board behind the hall. We hadn't done it before. We took it out to like this one building kind of off like the main grounds. And but we finally decided, hey, we're going to take it behind Mary Green. So we did it. It was your usual spooky Ouija board stuff. I think we heard a noise or like a scream come out of nowhere. But it was like freaky. Yeah, you got tugged on. But anyway, the more interesting part was when we came back afterwards. Like we went back, we put the Ouija board down, and I was like, hey, let's go back out. I'll take my camera out, and we'll just go see what's out there. So we go out there with my camera, take pictures, stuff like that, and we look at them, and so the first one I took, like one of the first interesting ones I took was of my roommate at the time, and there were like orbs all over, like, and there's no way that the light source could have been like. There weren't bugs, there weren't anything, but it had to have been like orbs of some sort all over him, and it was really freaky.
Yeah, this was around fall time.
Yeah, it was fall time.
So, no, it wasn't like gnats flying out about or anything like that. And then it was at the middle of the night, too, so.
It should have just been a clear picture with a dark background, but it had all these orbs around him, and so we also... You said you got tugged at some point too.
Yeah, during the Ouija board.
During the Ouija board, yeah, I remember that. You said like you asked if somebody tapped on you or whatever, but
yeah,
I remember that. So then I keep taking pictures, and I took this one of Trenton, and there was like this weird shadow over his forehead, but like nothing. You weren't doing anything. I should have casted that shadow.
Yeah, there was nothing in the camera, in the way of the camera, at least discernible, that would ever do that. And your camera's set up in the way so the flash is right next. To the, like right above the lens. Yeah. So if something were to do that, it would have to be, like, really small and right in front of the little flash. And it was just pitch black. Yeah. You couldn't see anything through it.
And then I think the craziest part was when we got back, Cameron had, like, 3 dots of blood on his hand, and he hadn't, like, he didn't cut it. There was no visible cut sign anywhere, but, like these 3 dots of blood just randomly on his hand. And, I think like a lot of that's like the 3 is associated with like the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost.
It's mocking the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, but
it's mocking it.
Yeah.
So it's like demonic.
That's why the witching hour is 3 in the morning.
But yeah, that was probably the most interesting experience that we had was with that Ouija board. Other than that, like just weird things here and there with it when we take it out. But that was like the craziest thing. Mm-hmm. Were you outside with that with us?
I went one time with Rachel. Because our friend is supposedly sensitive to that, so she also knew all the rules of it, and we didn't want to break it, so we went behind on the train tracks, but like we were closer to the house than you guys were. Yeah,
it was weird shit messing with it. Mm-hmm. But that's probably the craziest.
Ours, when we started doing it started doing ZO, which apparently.
Yeah, if it spells out a certain thing, you're supposed to stop.
Yeah, it's because it's a demon.
Yeah, if a demon spells its name or something, you're fucked.
It's hard to gander whether or not like what you're doing with the Ouija board is legit, because like I feel like there's some sort of instinct that like you want to see it move, so like you like without like you make it move even though you're not trying to.
That's why I kept trying to get other people than Evan and I to do it, because we were relentlessly shitting on it the whole time, right? Like we were like, no way this is gonna work, saying dumb stuff like that, like in a way being dickish towards the spirits if they were there. But there were certain people, like you were one of them, where you're just like, I don't fuck with that. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna invite it to do anything.
And Rachel, I remember the one time we did it, Rachel started getting really freaked out.
Yeah, but she was really uncomfortable with it. But she also comes. Our friend comes from a very like haunted like area.
Yeah, Gettysburg. Yeah.
Yeah, so she says she runs into it a lot, and it's kind of there. It's like, oh, there's another ghost.
Yeah.
I do have a really interesting personal anecdote about a house that my grandma lived in. It was kind of like it was a half home. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's split down the middle, and it was right behind or right in front of a cemetery. Yeah. The interesting thing about this house is that it wasn't necessarily a normal haunting, but like anytime you watched horror movies, things would happen from the movie.
Ooh,
bad. Fuck that.
So like I remember once we were watching When a Stranger Calls, and as soon as the movie ended, the phone started ringing.
Fuck that.
It was horrifying.
I'm burning the house down.
No fucking thank you.
I'm moving the next morning.
The funniest part about that is when you hear about these stories of people who are haunted, they stay in the house.
Yeah.
They always stay in the house.
Like, get the fuck out of there.
It's our house now. No,
Nah.
they're making it clear it's not your house. I don't care how much money you just dropped on that.
Serious.
GTFO.
No.
Nah, dog. That house was not theirs.
But sometimes they follow them around. Like, it depends on the story, but like, if it's tied to the house, you get the fuck out.
Get
Like,
out.
I'm not messing around with that shit.
The phone ringing I couldn't do that. I know it's just happenstance, but like...
Did you answer it and see who it was?
No, fuck that.
Fuck that.
It's probably just some fucking telemarketer.
Not to shit on the phone ringing theme, but most of those movies come from around the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back when phones still were attached to the wall. So if there's 2 phones in your house, and you get a call while you're in the house, and you pick up the phone in the kitchen, and the only other phone is upstairs, and somebody goes, I'm in your house. You know where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calm down, Barbara. Run.
Yeah.
You know that he's upstairs.
No, you know what? I think I'm gonna go upstairs and see
They're
for
like,
myself.
Where are you? Like, where are you? Like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? Get the fuck out of the house. You know he's upstairs on your phone. You only have 2 goddamn phones and they're attached to the fucking wall.
That's my least favorite horror movie
And they're
trope.
the complete opposite.
Like, what the
There's a door right next to you that goes outside.
Yeah, that's my least favorite horror movie trope is I'm gonna go see what this is. Like, you're not a fucking investigator. Don't fuck with it.
But then again, we actively want something
Yeah,
good to happen
that's
to
true.
us, so I can't complain. Although there's a difference when you're talking horror movies that are paranormal are very different from horror movies that are just fucking
Killers,
crazy
slasher.
people.
Yeah. You ever seen Hush?
Oh,
Yeah.
That one's pretty
What's
good.
that
It's
one?
the deaf lady that lives out in the woods, and this guy's
fuck
trying to
that.
get into her house.
No.
It's good. It's really fucking good.
No.
You don't like deaf ladies?
No, I don't like people.
You should watch it.
People
It's
scare me
scary.
more than the paranormal.
That's fair, because people can really do damage. They can kill you.
And you know that people exist. So.
Yeah,
scares
I
me-
see them every day.
What scares me even more is people who do stuff to purposefully scare people. Not do anything, but scare people. Because it's that same thing with the clowns. Like, I would scare myself if I was in their position. If I was fucking stalking someone in the dark, I would creep myself out. Because if I'm out here fucking creepily staring at somebody, someone else could be behind me staring at me.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But yeah.
Scary shit.
Scary shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. People are definitely the worst. I hate them.
Yeah.
Ghosts, please come and take me.
Yeah. I'll fight a ghost over some deranged serial
Hit me
killer.
up.
Yeah.
Swing, come through.
Yeah, come on the podcast.
Think about it, right? Like, what stops a person? Some bullets, a knife. You gotta fight. What stops a ghost? Some funny tap water, you know? Splash it over there.
I'm an ordained minister. We can make it happen right now. That's great.
Well, I think we're at a pretty decent stopping point.
I think so.
We're not sure what we're going to talk about next week. We'll decide and hopefully let you know on our social media on Instagram at Get Stoked Podcast.
And maybe cryptids.
Maybe cryptids.
Maybe.
Because it's still Halloween.
It is still.
I was thinking we could do
season.
folklore legends too.
I would love to
Let's do that.
Let's
I've been
do
looking for
folklore?
an excuse to buy a folklore book.
All right, well then
All right.
tune in next week to hear about some interesting folklores. We're going to do some research and maybe not from Reddit because it's going to be hard to find a lot of those.
I'll
but
try my best.
We'll try. Don't be surprised if we kind of dive away from the Reddit thing. I think this is just more interesting stories that we're trying to talk
stories
about.
and concepts.
So, but anyway, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Overall themes.
Also, be sure to visit our subreddit,
Speaking
Get
about
Stoked.
getting away from Reddit.
Get Stoked Podcast. We're trying to collect, comments and stuff on there, so hopefully we can talk about it sometime.
Follow our Instagram to stay
The
updated.
Instagram, yes.
Get Stoked Podcast on Instagram.
Thank you so much
and
for listening.
Yeah, thank you. And you want to say anything, Trenton, before you go?
I love you all.
All right. Woo!